Hello everybody, Hellcracks here, and welcome to another Mercenary Thoughts from the Inner Sphere, episode 417. And today we're going to be talking about the bear, Ursus, from the Ghost Bears. Yes, it's a kind of a joint venture between Inner Sphere and the Ghost Bears to produce this thing. It's a 50-ton mech, and the original configuration, it's a 460, yes, you heard that, 460, 50-ton mech. Yeah. So it does have some firepower to go with it, but at the expense of speed. So it has a standard engine on board. It has 16 double heat sinks, which, well, in some ways almost oversynced. Because you look at the different range bands of weapon systems, it's sort of like, maybe you should have put some of those heat sinks towards something different. But we digress. It has 8.5 tons of ferrofibrous armor for 163 points, which I think is like 6 short of maximum. So roughly, if you put another half ton on, it'd be maxed out. Okay, it'd be more than maxed out. And then we have a plethora of weapons. We have an ER large laser in the right arm. We have 2 medium pulse lasers in the right arm. Then we have an ER medium laser in the right torso. We have an ER medium laser in the left torso. We have an SRM-6 in the center torso. We have a ton of ammunition to go with that, and that's in the left torso. And then we have an LRM-10, that is in the left arm, with a ton of ammunition in the left torso. So all your ammo's in the left torso. And then we have an ECM suite in the right torso for a little bit of protection versus, let's say, Artemis and C3 networks. So, what do I kind of think of it? Well, the firepower is pretty decent. It goes for a 50-ton mech. It has enough heat sinks to throw enough stuff down range and not worry about heat. But it all comes at the expense of being a slow-moving mech. So imagine a hunchback. You know, it plays very similar to a hunchback in a way for speed, or any of the other, say, Enforcer or Centurion, you know, that. So when you're looking at it, that's basically how you got to look at your maneuverability with this mech in the original design. So if you're used to playing a Centurion or a Enforcer, yeah, you'd be right at home with this mech. So that's pretty much how you're going to be maneuvering it around. So you got the ER large, and then you got the large laser. Obviously, you got 36 points of heat you can dissipate. If you run, that's 34. Obviously, between, you know, you're looking at the LRM-10 and the ER large. So if you're at 21, yeah, that's what, 16, 18 heat. That's only half of your freezers that are going to be used. So it's more than oversynced for your long-range weapon systems. So for a long period of time, you're not even going to be using those heat sinks. They're just kind of like taking up space for you. So could you have designed it a little bit better? You know, maybe use 2 of those heat sinks to throw on instead of a ER large. I like the ER large because it goes out to 25. What's not like about it, it does 10 points of damage. It's a nice little workhorse for 4 tons. You know, you're not going to ever find me saying a disparaging thing about the Clan ER large laser. I like it. And if you took 2 of those heat sinks and tossed them into making a ERPPC, then you got something that punch holes pretty decently, and you're only losing to hex difference. So I think I probably would have gone with that trade if I was designing this mech, but I didn't. So we were just stuck with the ER large, which, okay, all right. Then to back up those things, like I said, you get the LRM-10. That goes out 21. And typically, you're going to see most likely 6 points of damage out of that thing on an average. And when you hit, so a 5 and a 1. So that's kind of your plinker weapon. So really, in all intents and purposes, you might be lucky to do 16 damage out at 21 or long range with this weapon systems. So there's that. Now, when you get into 15, then things start changing a little bit. Then you can throw in a couple of ER medium lasers, and that's another 14 to the mix. So now you're starting to look at the 40 damage plus potential from this mech. That's not too bad, and you really start. Yeah, it's nothing hard hitting type of weapon systems, but it adds up over time. You're going to wear somebody down with these things, and you're still not worrying about any heat problems because you're doing 26, 28, and you can dissipate 36. Yeah, that's or 32. Sorry, what am I thinking? 36. But anyway, 32. All right, so then you are still fine. Now, when you get in a little closer, when you get into that 12 range, then you got to really start thinking, okay, do I want to use the LRM-10 or drop off the ER large? Because now you're looking at, you have 2 medium pulse lasers. And personally, when I get into range, I'm going to be using the 2 ER medium lasers, 2 ER two medium pulse lasers. So I'm looking at right there, that's 18 heat. That's half of it. So if you run, that's 20. So you're left with 12 left. Then you can throw in the large laser. Okay, there you go. Now it's the LRM-10. That's the one that's like, okay, if I fire that, it puts you at the 4 heat level. So now you're like, okay, I can do that for 1 turn. So basically, it's one of those mechs that you can throw everything down range for a turn and not worry about slowing down. You do that 2 turns in a row, suddenly you are running around as a 3-5 moving mech. At any time, a mech that's moving really slow on the battlefield, expecting a medium one, well, your life expectancy is starting to get pretty dim. Yeah, not very good. Now, all this comes in at 1,778 battle value. So not that bad for the amount of firepower it can throw down range. Now, there's one weapon system left that I didn't talk about, and that's the SRM-6. That's in the center torso. Now, this is where you look at it and go, okay, if I am really close up, this is where I'm really thinking, okay, I'm not going to be firing the ER large. I probably will throw in the SRM-6, maybe the LRM-10. It's like I said, you had the previous version where you're not using SRM-6, but the damage output potential is 12, and that's your crit hunter. And really, I look at the LRM-10 as kind of a crit hunter too, because on an average, you're going to be getting 6, so that's a 5 and a 1. So that 1's going to be kind of acting as your bonus. So I'm most likely going to not throw in the ER large and then just fire every system I have other than ER large, and then just trying to shotgun somebody and see what sticks to the wall. And if you get the SRM-6 to go, you get the LRM-10 to go, and you get all the... And the odds are your medium pulse laser are probably going to be the ones that are going to hit him, most likely. And it might be, the other ones that are going to be kind of up in the air, depending on the range. Now, if I'm... Also, situation dictates, too, is that if I'm looking at my firing solution, I might be throwing the ER large in there anyway and say, okay, that's my best shot for hitting with. Okay, that's going to be my better one. My medium pulse laser probably be better, so that's going to be in there. And then I look at the other ones and say, okay, what can I throw at you to potentially hit without cooking myself? So it's like kind of like, what do you want to do? But most likely that's how I'm going to be living with this thing. So, yeah, it's trying to balance out the heat with this thing. It's got a lot of stuff to throw down range. Now, I foresee this being used as a second line mech defensively, kind of a garrison style. Because during the time this was built, the Ghost Bears were kind of like having problems with insurrection, on different planets and stuff. So it kind of acts as a second line mech that, it's like, hey, your job is to go out there and suppress things, any uprisings and stuff like that. And that might be your primary targets with these things. It's like, it could be vehicles, it could be like a raid from an inner sphere operation, or mechs or something of that nature. And I really do think that this mech would kind of shine against such activity, especially if it's a second or third grade style mech unit that really doesn't have a lot of top end equipment. This one probably could do a good job of handling most of those situations. Now, if you're facing off against pure clan high-end mechs, this thing's going to get kind of outshone a bit, even though you may have more defensive mechs versus the guys that are attacking that have the frontline clan mechs. So, you have to see how that works out. That's the scenario, how you want to play it. Now, there is a newer version of this mech. Let's see what it said here. What year did this? The new version came out, 3074. All right, so the new one, the first came out in 3059. All right, the next version, the Ursus 2, the Bear 2, came out in 3074. It comes in at 2054 battle value. And let's bring up the sheet here. All right, we have a ER medium laser in the right torso. We got a HAG 20. All right, left torso with 1 ton of ammunition. You got a lot of tonnage wrapped up in one system. It only has, what, 6? Was that 6 shots with that? Yeah, 6 shots with a HAG 20. And then you got 2 AP Gauss rifles in the right arm, and you got a plasma rifle in the right arm. Now, this is 100% screaming anti-insurgency, because the AP Gauss rifles and a plasma rifle, or plasma cannon, sorry, it's not a plasma rifle, sorry. Yeah, if it was a plasma rifle, that'd be all right, because, at least you can do some damage and heat. Plasma cannon, on the other hand, with the clans, you're just looking at anti-infantry / heat producer. So, yeah, that only goes out to 18. Now, the HAG 20 goes out to 24. That's a pretty decently ranged weapon system. And to be honest, I think I probably would have kept the ER large laser instead of a plasma cannon, and just festooned this thing with AP Gauss rifles. Yeah. Gave it 2 long-range weapon systems that go out to 24, 25, and then just like, here you go. I'm going to throw some extra goodies at you with the, if you got any infantry, here, have a bad day. I'm going to mow you down with my AP Gauss rifles. So, and the nice thing is they go out to 9, and they can do damage to mechs and vehicles, but, they got the other aspect that goes with them. So you can mow down some infantry. So there's that. Now, the, it's like with the HAG 20, you got 11 tons wrapped up in that thing. Just one, it's like, if you had 2 tons of ammunition, that's 12 tons. Yeah, that is interesting. Which is why I probably would have gone with the plasma cannon. I would have gone with the, let's see, how many tons of ammunition is this thing? Plasma cannon. Plasma cannon, they got 2 tons of ammunition with it. So, yeah. I would have gone with the ER large and then taking that extra tons, 3 tons, and gone with a couple more AP Gauss rifles and another ton of ammunition. So you can mow down infantry. Yeah, that would have been the route I've gone with instead. So then you got something that shoot out of range, and then you have something that can just take care of things up close and personal. So, yeah, that would have been how I went with it. And then you got the backup ER medium laser. So, but the way you look at this one, yeah, this one's going to be garrison style. This is going to be city fighter, anti-insurrection style mech. The Ursus 2, so I would I just look at it and go, it does have some ranged weapon systems, you know, obviously with the Hag, but in 6 turns, you're like click, 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 and then that heavy tonnage weapon system you have is empty. So then what are you going to do? So, you know, you probably would have been better off, like I said, instead of having the plasma cannon. Now, the plasma cannon can go 20 turns, but against mechs, you're just like, eventually, like, okay, all you got is the ER medium laser, the AP Gauss rifles, which you know, obviously you got 20 turns of ammo with that thing, banging away with a 9. But you know, a lot of mechs will look at you and go, you're no longer really a threat. You know, it's like, hey, you're a nuisance. That's about it. You know, they'll be facing off against other more important targets to try to take them out. Yeah, you're going to be back there plinking away. You basically, you went from a 50-ton amount, kind of a firepower, down to, and at 6 turns, now you drop down to being like a light mech style of firepower. You know, it's not going to be much there. It's like, okay, your threat level just kind of disappeared. And you're spending 2,000 battle value on something like that that's within 6 turns is either going to be dead or just like, okay, I'm not worried about you anymore. Then, okay, there's a new one. There's the Ursus 3. Okay, this one's interesting. Let's see, when did this one? This was like later. Ursus 3. Yeah, it's still in 70. Yeah, 3079. This is when this one come out. Rashalahag League Republic. All right, so let's get the write-up on this thing. This is in a different book. This was in Prototype's book. So this one drops back down to a 4-6, so relegated to kind of the security forces again. You have an ER flamer in the head. All right, so that screams, hello, I'm going to go kill infantry. Watchdog, counter EWS in the center torso. We got a heavy, improved heavy medium laser in the right torso, a heavy improved laser in the, or medium laser. Those are heavy medium lasers. I can't even talk today. In right and left torso. Then you have 2 Protomech AC-8s. Yes, you heard that correctly. AC-8s, Protomech. They do 8 damage, 2 points of heat each, go out to 10, so kind of almost like a inner sphere large pulse laser for amount of damage and range for that matter. And then you have 3 AP Gauss rifles in the left arm. So this thing is a short-range garrison-style mech that, you know, it's like, hey, I'm going to fight in the city. My job is to take out infantry, any type of insurrection activities. This is 100% anti-insurrection style mech. And if somebody does decide and just get within 9, 10 range with this thing, and if you've seen it on the battlefield, you look at it and go, yeah, I'm not going to bother mess. It was like phone something banging away. I'm going to stay outside of its range and just beat it down until it's gone. Now, this all comes in at 1,284 battle value, so it's kind of a bargain in a way. Now, if you're playing a scenario where you're I got to take out a bunch of insurrectionist infantry running around the battlefield in a cityscape. Okay, I would probably consider taking one of these just to go in and hose them down. And I can see where the Hag version also could be used to help handle any type of vehicles that might be running around also in that game. So it's one of those things. So really, this mech is going to find itself kind of relegated to scenarios or something of that nature, raids, or if there are areas getting raided, and they're going to be parked around there trying to defend. So, yeah, you're not going to be going out of your way to grab a few of these and throw them into a raid yourself or any type of assault. So, yeah, that's not going to be its thing at all. So that's how I envision this mech. Not going to be seen very often. And to be honest, I've seen, I think, twice in all the years I've played, and it was a city fight that I remember seeing these being used. So that's, like I said, it's not going to be found most likely in open terrains, large kind of battles. It's going to be a defensive battle. So overall, that is the Ursus, the bear. All right, unbearable, I guess. So that's it. Hope you guys like it. Like and subscribe, share with your friends, and we'll see you in the next one. Cracks out.